Welcome to Warblog. Today we're going to have a quick look at the early rural resistance in Afghanistan 1978. A quick look at the scenario. There we go. So obviously it's not Kazakhstan or wherever it is up here, the USSR. So essentially it's an interesting period actually, for reasons that I will just sort of broach now. If we look at the Soviet-Afghan War, and I'm going through Mark Urban's book on this really to sort of to develop this, what we have are the Saur revolution. So, to recap, that was sort of an unknown by the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan. They released a sort of a magazine or a newsletter that lasted about 6 months before it was banned, and then they got this opportunity and started rioting and basically took over Kabul. And then after that, most of Afghanistan sort of pretty much acknowledged their coup. Obviously, the units in Jalalabad didn't, and so that was sort of the next stage. So that was fairly soon after. The dates are still the same, so they come along from Kabul and then they defeat the forces there. So essentially, that was sort of I'm not sure whether they should all be the actual 27th to 28th. I'm pretty sure that the defense of Jalalabad should be a bit after the Saur revolution, but anyway. The key dates are the same, so April. Following that, the whatever they are, the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, they started to issue sort of decrees and policy and such, and obviously Afghanistan went through a period of change, and a lot of that change, the certain parts of Afghanistan, mainly the sort of more remote farmers, disagreed with, leading us to the gap between sort of April and basically June. So obviously June, the end of nothing left of April there. So, and this is probably the beginning of May anyway. So throughout May they started to sort of issue their decrees on what laws and things like their policies, started to establish their government. And then basically throughout June, there's no sort of definite begin or end date on this, but basically throughout June there were sort of uprisings. So this is what this represents. Now the thing is, the uprisings were sort of sporadic and over most of the country, and what we've got there is the National Salvation Front. They've got a more Islamic name. So I've actually written not so much a lot, but what seemed to me to be quite a lot in comparison to how much I normally write. So there you go, the Jub Najat-e-Milli, the National Salvation Front. So I just read through it quickly just so I can make sure I've got the key points. So obviously, the scenario reflects a period following the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan coup. So 1st June to 28th June. Dates are rough approximations. Following the coup, the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan started to issue guidance on the way it would govern, including a decree on ethnic equality, emancipation for women, and land redistribution, as well as leading a revival of conservative Islam in Afghanistan. And it was these sorts of things that upset a lot of people. They were afraid that things like emancipation for women, equality, land redistribution, they thought it would affect their lives. So, however, in many rural areas there was a resistance to that, and combined with the efforts of agitators that spread false rumours about the new government's intentions, several Afghan political parties formed the National Salvation Front. So there was a lot of agitation as well. Basically, it's quite interesting. I maybe don't say quite like this, but fake news, so to speak, or, they were saying, "Oh, new government, want this and that," and there were also a lot of people deserting the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, or the army. Some people were sort of deserting or leaving and going out to join these sort of rebel groups. Then several resistance groups started attacking police and army posts in remote parts of the country, and then later the National Salvation Front started to take control of remoter provinces. So this leads into early July, when the National Salvation Front declared that they had control of 8 of Afghanistan's provinces, which started the debate over who controlled what. So after that, they start to sort of say, well, we control this province, and this is pretty much a province here, I think. And so there are some other provinces. It's not clear which ones, and I haven't really put a lot of effort to get right into it. So this is representative of the fact that these units, National Salvation Front, are rising up in the more remoter provinces. And I think the key thing here is this. We're going to get into here. This scenario reflects the early part of the effort in the northeastern part of Afghanistan around Badakhshan, Bamiyan, Kunar, Paktia, and Nangarhar, or near enough. Other provinces not on this map are also taken. The more desert ones, the more rural. It notes basically that much of the regular Afghan army was based in the south along the Pakistan border, and some other areas, but the regions that the National Salvation Front was targeting, the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, had either very little police and military presence, or in some cases none at all, making it very easy for the National Salvation Front to declare control. So this is sort of what we've got here, really. I mean, for example, I don't want to suggest what provinces and what, but there's nothing to stop them taking control of these areas. I put in a couple of police units, but basically this is not a sort of game that's going to be particularly challenging, but it'd be interesting to see how it does play out. But I think it's key to understand that process, and in particular that gap between the Saur revolution, the taking of Jalalabad, and the sort of interim period where this revolutionary body was trying to change the course of Afghan history. And I just think it's key to sort of note this particular point, because this was actually pretty much the birth of the Taliban and those sorts of forces. And a lot of people are quite interested in what ifs, and I think this is a what if. What if they hadn't of emancipated women, or what happens if they hadn't been so conservative with their their sort of something with their thingy of Islam. Revival of conservative Islam. Basically, they were sort of, Mark Urban's books describes them as cleaning Islam up. I don't know what that means, but I think it probably means making it more westernized. But they met with all these village elders saying, it's we're not trying to destroy Islam. So I think it was, I'm not sure what they were trying to do, but I think it was maybe sort of more of a watering down of the core beliefs. I don't really understand much about it, so I don't really want to say too much. But, as a what if, you can say, well, what if they hadn't done certain things and they hadn't sort of caused the people in these sort of almost ungoverned provinces to sort of feel like rising up? They would have basically avoided decades of war. So this represents this sort of north-eastern sector of Afghanistan. I mean, I would maybe put the provinces in if I can be bothered, but I can't. But I think it's nonetheless, it's quite interesting, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how it works out as a game, mainly because I think it's going to sort of reflect that the process of them not really being able to, stop this sort of this uprising because they don't have any units there. I'm not sure where the mountains actually extend. They might sort of extend throughout the whole of this area. I'm just a bit lazy, really. I haven't put the names in over here, but I'm still excited actually about it, nonetheless, because of its significance. But so now the thing is, I don't want to get too complex, but I'm trying to decide whether or not I should go this way first with these, or try to come this way towards Shelk to face that off. So I think I'm going to go this way. So that's the only move we can make. Now, I think the thing that's going to make it interesting is that all the objectives are sort of over here in the mountains. And so what I've done is, there's Kabul and there's Jalalabad. So we know the dynamics there. The coup started in Jalalabad. They moved over in Kabul. They moved over to Jalalabad where there was a resistance. I've assumed that they took control and these were fairly strong, basically because of the road network. But the thing is, the mechanised units and the motorised units and the armour won't be able to go into the mountains. Now, some of them, I can't remember which, will be able to go along the roads, so we might be able to get along the roads quite slowly. But when you actually sort of extract the, all those motorised, mechanised and armoured units, they don't really have enough to actually quell this revolution. Now, they might do. So let's end their turn. Now on this one we might say, okay, well there's an uprising here, so we could send out police units that way, and I'm going to sort of roleplay that a bit and maybe do that. And maybe move him this way. But they can only move one square, and it takes him up everything just to get one square through the mountains. So that's that. We're not going to do anything here, I don't think, yet. Well, we've got a spare unit there, so let's see what he can do. And let's send a motorised unit this way. Okay. So he's going to stay and take that town. The police are going to move into Shelk, which will at least give them an advanced protection. They're going to move into Baharak. I don't think they'll be able to get much further. And this guy is going to move there. We'll definitely move to the mountains. So now we've got more units. We've taken this town, and now, and this is sort of key, the first battle. Will they win? They've not fought the police before. They've only got, in some cases, Henry Martini guns. And so there's this sort of like skirmishing going on in the mountains between these uprising, these National Salvation Front irregulars and the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan police. So it's the first historic event. Okay. You can get along the path, but you can't go through the mountains. So let's see whether we can get this guy doing anything useful. And let's redistribute this guy to there. Now, do we want to fight back? Probably not, because we're only worth 1, so that'll be, and there'll be at least 2. So that'll be 1 to 2, so it's not worth it, but we can defend. Well, let's recover this time. Okay, so motorised units definitely can't go through the mountains. So I should really just pull them back. And maybe send some more this way. Right, stacking limits in hills is 2. Okay, okay. Okay, so we've now got other units, look. And we've recovered these units, so let's try this attack again. And an exchange. Right, this police and military, joint police and military operation could preserve the integrity of the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan for all eternity. And we could be looking, can we go through the hills? Yep. Stacking. So this shouldn't really be stacked so high. But we're going to recover again. I like to take the time to recover because I think it's too easy to just keep pounding away and running fatigues up. So we're nearly taking that village. There's reinforcements on the way. Okay. Okay, so we recovered again, so third attack. Another exchange. So this is like, you know, a major historic sort of battle around Shelk, where the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan maintained their empire. But they didn't count on these guys appearing there. Oh dear. And they're going to recover. Well, they've just failed their attack, so they're recovering too. So now they've got this to contend with. So these police are now going to move into Ziak. This infantry unit's going to go into Baharak. The situation looks a lot more dire. So we're going to have to start pushing these units. Directly out. Okay. Well, I think they can handle it from there. Okay, so they've taken their second village. They're going to recover. These guys are going to move and try and take some of the, harass some of these places. Now I think the key thing is the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan aren't in the best positions to sort of really attack these guys. And they're going to need a lot, and they don't really have it. And that was why I thought this would be quite an interesting scenario. But they're holding out really well there. So he's going to have to hold on himself now. Police units can't entrench either, which is worth noting. He's going to have to stay there. So we're going to have to sort of redistribute all this heavy equipment. Okay, but they can't attack that, but maybe next turn. Okay. Well, this is going to be their fourth attack here. Another exchange. Okay. Well, I think this could go differently. We'll have a bit more success over there. But I think the key thing here is that it wasn't impossible for the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan to have, actually make good their coup, their revolution. I mean, if the people that had agitated these units into rising up had not done that, the whole thing could have been quite different. I think it's quite interesting. That's why I think this is an interesting game, because there's a what if, so to speak. Okay, well, we're going to probably have to try and do something with that, but we also want to get these units sort of heading in the right direction. Okay, now do we want to attack that? Well, we've got no movement, but we've made a better defensive position there. But look, they're going to recover, and he's going to move into Eshkashem. And that's that. Okay, so 3 places taken. We're really going to have to sort of try and get rid of these people. And now we've got to defend Faizabad. And we want to try and take them out. This will be the first. If we can move there, well, they're hardly moving back. And that's it. Okay. Well, they've recovered again. So it's taken 11 turns. Well, not quite 11 turns, but we're on turn 11 and we still haven't defeated our first main battle. But because there's not a lot of another exchange, because they can't protect these, we've taken probably, you know, a good part of this, which is now National Park. So this police unit should be receiving medals and things. I can't stop them taking Elizabeth. So that's that. Well, this is probably about as good as it's going to get. Do we want to try that, or just contain them? I think containing them might be a good idea at this stage. I just don't want to fight them and get an attack and retreat. Okay, well, they're going to recover. And they're just going to sit there and take these provinces. So that's it. People's Democratic Party. Okay. Now they're dug in. It's a bit of an impasse, really, especially there. Unless they want to sort of go into the USSR or Pakistan. And of course, the thing to note is that as a result of this uprising, the Soviets came in because these guys were more. The People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan were more. They were more aligned to the Soviet way of thinking, which was obviously communist, and the communists, I think, are well known for being secular, and that probably had some sort of leaning towards you know, that sort of cleaning up of Islam, the conservative Islam, and it was that sort of secular nature, and they're sort of more they're basically the sort of the Soviet influence, although the People's Democratic Republic said they weren't a Soviet vassal or puppet, or they weren't, you know, they were just, you know, neighbours. I think that had something to do with it, you know, the fact that they were more aligned to the Soviets, and also the Soviets are secular, and they saw that as a threat to their religion. And again, I just keep, you know, reiterating, this is a turning point, but it was this activity that brought the Soviets in, basically. Let's stack 2 units up. So we're going to have to attack. Let's see what we can do. An exchange. Well, and we can't get off the road. I think we're going to have to attack there, but that's going to be crappy as well. Moving these units. I don't want to move too much because I'm sort of role playing in the sense that these are playing important roles in the maintenance of Kabul and Jalalabad. So we've got a lot of activity up here. I think that's enough for that. It's not really anything to them. So we've got this other unit here now. Now, that's why I left them to defend these main places. So he's going to come up and start throwing his weight in things. Now we've taken all of these places now. We can get more units over here. And another attack here. So this is like weeks in. Another exchange, so medals all around. I think there. We don't want to lose this town. We don't want to lose that. So I think it all hinges on this, because once that falls, all of this will move down this valley. I think this is the Penchar Valley. I haven't got a track in there or anything. And if they can get down there, you should be able to push these units out. So it's sort of moving towards what I thought it would, a sort of the possibility, and I do like it when it gets to the stage of a stalemate. And I think it's quite difficult to get stalemates in war games, because quite often one side sort of wins, and that's the thing I like about mountain scenarios, because you can only get one unit in a stack, and so you can get these sorts of situations here, but it could be a stalemate. But I think that once this falls, and it's inevitable, these will just pour down here, and we'll be able to take most of this. But if we reach a sort of significant stalemate, then I'll just say, well, that was there, and the Soviets didn't feel the need to intervene, and history was altered. But let's give it another few turns, because I think there's one more. I think there's 7 of these National Salvation Front forces come into play. Okay, we can't get there. So we're stuck. They're stuck in this traffic jam because the road doesn't go past Faizabad. But we can push these units up this way. We've ignored that. I need to take these and make sure that this is sort of why I left these units here, these big units. Just to sort of, because they couldn't just move all these units out, and I think it's that sort of. This is what appealed to me about the structure of this game, because you've got all these big units, but you can't really use them. The action's taking place up here. These units can't come out of the mountains to really attack these. So the dynamics of it all actually sort of make sense. They're just small little rebel units, and they can't come out and attack these big companies, these big armoured and mechanized, motorized companies. But they can sort of cause chaos in the mountains, and they're hard to get rid of. Whereas if they were out here, these units would probably steamroll over them, although these are still hills, so they're still challenging. I mean, I'm not sure whether there are any plains over here, but it's all fairly hilly. So we can't maneuver around. It's got one depression, so maybe we shouldn't have moved, but I think we'll do the movement next turn. Okay. Well, I want to recover there, but we won't be able to stack, will we? And I'm not going to move through Pakistan, although could we? Should I move through Pakistan? I think I am. I'm going to cheat. Or not. So these are important decisions to make, and I think they come into the sort of the area of role playing. And I think I'm not going to move into Pakistan to get that 3 surround, although I could. And that's that. Okay, so we're going to do that. That, building up to attack this unit here. And that's that. Okay. I might be running out of ammunition soon. So nearly 4 weeks later, they're still yet to get rid of this police unit in the hills. Another exchange. You know, that's such a long run, although it's, what are the odds? It's 2 to 1 odds. It's not sort of like, you know, unbelievably difficult. So they're holding on these 2 places, and we're bringing this guy in. I think he's going to have to intercept. He will intercept. We'll try and attack here. Exchange. It's getting desperate because they're all dug in now. I just don't want an AR, and I get the feeling this is going to be an AR. Oh, a DR! Look at that, 1 to 2. We finally pushed them out, pushing them into the Soviet Union. We don't have any movement to get in there, but that was what we needed. A bit of luck, a change in momentum, going against the odds as well. And there's the last unit down here. That's interesting. That's interesting. We've got to recover there. Do we want to move back into Ishkashem? I think they're going to sit in the Soviet Union and recover because these People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan units are not going to cross the border. He's going to just sit there. Okay. Right. So we've got this rogue unit down here, but we really don't want him adding, because I think there's a fine balance up here. If we can get rid of some of these units and damage them, we could possibly do something, but we don't want him getting up there. So, hopefully we can win this. 3-1 and a DR, yes. Pushing him back. Okay, so that's going to keep him away. We only need to take Peshkashin back. We'll push him, we'll leave him there. Push this guy in this way. And that will do. We're covered, so let's see what we can do there. If this attack fails, I'm going to call it a day and call it a stalemate. Something doesn't want it to be that way. So Shulk has finally fallen. I would like to put some coding so that they don't cross borders if they don't have to, but I haven't gone that far yet. Shouldn't be too difficult, they just treat them just like rivers actually, but still got to do it. It's easier said than done. Okay, so they've won a victory. The Democratic Party of Afghanistan have won a victory. So it's all up in the air. Everything to be won and everything to be lost, so to speak. What we can really do is trying to bring these units together. Okay. Oops. Down here. Well, if we can squeeze through. Yes. That's nice. Because if we get attacked, we can hopefully retreat in this direction. Right, let's go back into Shulk. So we can push these guys out. Yes. A 1-1 and a DR. Not enough movement to move through. Okay. So the uprising is being quashed, I think. We've pushed them out of these two advanced towns. We've retaken Shulk, but it just wasn't enough to to take Shelk. Well, this unit might get into the fray. 44 minutes, push for time. There's an hour limit on YouTube videos. Okay. I forgot to do that move, didn't I? I just forgot to do it. I should have moved there, but that's just tough. They've broken through. Well, we need both of these onto one target. Can't do that. Let's move him back into Razorabad. Turn. Okay, end turn. Well, let's try and push them back out again. Exchange. Well, it's desperate. And keep the fatigues up on them. That might help. Well, we really want to push through here. Push them back again. So now on 3 depressions. But we still can't attack and move. Let's try and attack here again. Another exchange. Well, they're not set on anything, are they? Exchange. We should be at 2 now. 2 depressions, but it's not. It's at 1. I don't know why that is. I think the exchange is not having an effect. I'll get back into Shelk, but they're going to be probably destroyed next turn. Do we want to attack that unit? No. Let's contain them. Well, we're going to push this unit back again. In exchange. I think we're going to go for it next turn as well. Let's keep pushing. We can recover. We've really got to. Let's just try these 2. Exchange. Okay, so we can rename this game Battle Shell, but we've really got to pound down on them. Another exchange. I'm going to have to rest next turn. See if we can push these units out. Exchange. It's so finely balanced. I think we really needed to sort of, advance right in the very beginning and consolidate these sort of National Salvation Front units. We've got to rest those. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to call it a stalemate, and I think you could conjecture whether now the Soviets would come in, because the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan might say they've got the situation under control. They've got the lower lands defended with significant forces, and they're dealing with this uprising that isn't really gaining a huge amount of momentum, although they can say they can control one province up there. There are other parts of the country where this similar sort of thing was happening. I'm glad that game went as interestingly as I thought it would, because I think it's quite significant, really, sort of how those sort of smaller actions go. And I think you've got to sort of, introduce these the suspension of disbelief into sort of how that works. I mean, what we've got up here is a sort of unit that's fairly fresh with these sort of, is it Depression 3, Depression 3, Depression 1. You've got to sort of contemplate, that these are sort of fairly tired units now, where they're still fresh, but they're sort of, tired units here. But these are fairly tired as well. They can't afford to attack next turn, but he's a Depression 4, so he's a permanent Depression 2. I think it would possibly go in this sway towards the National Salvation Front, but I think that there's a lot of choices there, and I think one of them could be, if we could break through here, we could start, once we could break through here and get some of these bigger units in play, we could control this area along the road, so we'd be able to control these two places and germ with the larger units, allowing the smaller units to contend with these areas. That, so Fezabad is key, I think. If you were to sort of play it again, I think the objective would be to really make sure that you don't lose that in order to maintain this road network through to Baharak at the very least, etc., etc. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.